You're watching Fantasy Studs and Suds, only on Fantasy Now Plus.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to episode 10 of Fantasy Studs and Suds, brought to you by Fantasy Now Plus and the Finns Talk Sports Network. I am the Fantasy Nobody, Jeffrey Crisp, and with me is my co-host, CJ Pudge LePage. Our segments today will include Fantasy Studs, Fireworks Freshmen, rookies that will explode beyond expectations, Fantasy Leagues, Stars and Stripes, questionable referee calls that have impacted fantasy performances. We have Fantasy Priority, Independence and Effectiveness, players unable to perform after moving on. Fantasy Suds, today is our Frothy Fourth, and Fantasy Funz, Independence Day A or B. Pudge, my friend, happy July 4th to you and yours.
And to you as well. It's a fun day for everybody over here. It's actually my daughter's birthday, so happy 9th birthday.
Happy birthday.
She'll be over in a little bit, so we can partake in some cake and ice cream. So it's a fun day. We almost named her Independence, but we decided to go against it.
Yeah, I think I like the name that you have chosen other than Independence. We've tried to refrain from speaking about the weather on our show after our first few episodes, but today I have to really comment on the fact that today is a beautiful day for the 4th. Tomorrow is going to be hot and humid, so I'm not looking forward to that. But for today, for the festivities that we're going to enjoy, we have some friends coming up, and we're looking forward to spending some time with them and having some good suds. So I'm really thankful that today, the last couple of days have been really nice. Today is going to be nice, and then tomorrow is going to be pure bleep. So I'm really looking forward to that. So on to Fantasy Studs. Fireworks will be ignited across the nation this evening, but today we look at our Firework Freshmen, those rookies that are poised to ignite their careers and launch into stardom, at least for fantasy. Pudge is exploding into fantasy relevance, and he is also going to tell us who's exploding the fantasy relevance for you.
So I know this player was drafted high, and I don't know why he's not getting the buzz that he should. No other player that I can tell is even in his range of outcomes, I guess you could say, other than Travis Hunter. And I'm talking about Ted McMillan. Ted McMillan goes into a situation where he can be the alpha. He will be Bryce Young's go-to as long as he can figure out how to get a little bit of separation. That's what they've been doing over there with Adam Thielen. I think that Tet has the ability. He showed it. He torched the number 1 overall pick last year. So if he can do it to the Heisman Trophy and number 1 overall pick in Travis Hunter, why can't he do it to some subpar play and probably the second and third guy in coverage as far as what they're going to face on the defensive side? He's not going to get the number 1 guy right away. And with Bryce Young's maturity, I think he will really step into this role, and I don't think he'll look back as far as when he becomes the number 1. When he becomes the number 1 over Adam Thielen, it will be him and him alone. I don't see anybody else catching balls. If anything, it'll be by volume that he'll maintain that rapport with Bryce Young. And then you go to another rookie. Did you want to add to Tet there, sir?
Well, I wanted to talk about Tet. I think for the most part, I think a lot of people are gun shy. I think with Marvin Harrison Jr. last year and the lofty expectations everybody had for Harrison, I think expectations are a little tempered this year. And I've seen some analysts projecting Tet as a top 5, top 6 wide receiver this season. And I've even heard one person, I do not recall who that was, saying that Tet has the possibility to be the number one wide receiver this year. I do not believe that. I do not think that he is going to rise to that lofty of a goal. And I think that's part of the reason why so many people are, I won't say fading him, but they're why they are hesitant to take him early in drafts and especially in a redraft. Obviously, in a rookie draft, he's the number one wide receiver going off the board, other than Travis Hunter. I think, especially in IDP leagues, I've seen obviously Travis Hunter go number one in my IDP rookies. We just started one a couple days ago, and he was the first pick, leaving Genty to number two. So I think that's probably the biggest reason. I want as many shares of Ted as I can get, and even in a redraft league, I am looking for him in those later rounds. But I think that's exactly why people are so hesitant to project him higher, and that's because of everybody over projecting Marvin Harrison Jr. last year.
I personally am taking him right behind Hampton. I don't know why there's so many running backs going in the dynasty leagues that I've seen, and the rookie picks that I've seen go before him. I don't see outperforming him for the career and or for the next few years. To me, it's a conundrum, but time will tell.
Well, in the IDP rookie draft that we just commenced, I know that 5 of the first 7 players drafted were running backs. So it's very interesting. And again, the league rules aren't such that it really favors running backs. I don't know what the love is with all the running backs over some of these players. I would have certainly thought Tet would have gone much sooner. He did not go in those first 7 picks. So maybe to your point, there's a lot of people sleeping on him when they should be taking him early. If I would have been in the position, I was in the 5 spot. Okay, so I'm guilty. I have to fess up. I'm in the 5 spot, and I took a running back. And I know you're not supposed to draft for need. You're supposed to draft for talent, and trade for need. But I really, really needed a running back, so I had to go. And I draft Judkins at the position I did. But I really wanted Tet. But I'm stacked at receiver, so like you said, I know that's not the strategy you're supposed to take when you draft, but yeah, I did it anyway.
I'll say good afternoon, Vengeance. Glad you could make the show. And I'm going to lead off with another guy that there's just not very many people in town. I'm going to start with Mason Taylor. He's got the pedigree. He just turned 21 in May, and that's really, really young, especially for tight ends. He played for LSU. I mean, Justin Fields loves to hyper-target players. And if he's hyper-targeting Garrett Wilson and Mason Taylor, I don't see how he's not one of these explosive rookies. He doesn't have much competition with Malachi Corley, that is, looking like he's maybe going to be cut this year. And then Conklin and Adams, they are both on different teams. He's never had less than 34 receptions, even as a rookie, a freshman in college. He's never had less than 34 receptions on his team. Last year, he had 55 receptions, which was 3rd on the team. And that was, he just got edged out by Kyron Lacey by 58 receptions. This guy is primed to step into that role of mainstream tight end faster than what I think everybody thinks. He's a little behind the age curve as far as he doesn't have the maturity of some of these other tight ends that came in. He's only 21 years old. He was drafted at age 20. He's only played for one college. I mean, this guy is the real deal. And I really think that if you get him now, it will be advantageous and you won't be able to get him later because those top 5 tight ends are really, really hard to come by.
So in a 12-team rookie draft, where have you been seeing him fall? What's his ADP, and where have you personally seen him fall?
I've seen him fall all the way in the second round. I'm personally taking him over Taylor. I don't like where Taylor went. I understand that the scene can change very quickly, but I don't like the Indianapolis usage and how they distribute passes. I just don't like it. And where he went to the Jets, I think that he should be pushed up to right after Egbuka, Jalen Noel, maybe right around that area. If he's not going before them, and I think he's definitely before a lot of those running backs that people are taking, right after maybe Cam Scatterbu at 203, 204. That's where I think that he should be going in rookie drafts, but he just keeps falling.
In leagues that are not tight end premium, I've seen Taylor. I mean, he's usually in the third round. I'm not seeing him frequently in the second round. In a couple of the tight end premium leagues, I have seen him go early in the second, but still he's sliding late second round. And I've been trying to hold off and get him where I can. I know you've been high on him. You've been high on him for a while and have been talking about him. I don't think you're quite as high on him as one of the other ones we'll discuss in a little bit, but I like Taylor, and I think with Justin Fields and some of the things we've seen, I think Taylor could actually produce. It's hard sometimes to trust Jets players the same way we've had a difficulty trusting New York Giant players. Those New York teams really have been very difficult to really rely upon in fantasy. But this could be an entirely different story now in New York for the Jets, and so I'm really kind of looking forward to seeing what Taylor does.
Afternoon, Jamie. Good to see you back on the show.
Glad to see you.
Hopefully,
Jamie.
we get some good questions from you. My third player is Jarquez Hunter, and if you saw the video between Jarquez Hunter. Oh, it was actually about Jarquez Hunter. It was Les Snead and Sean McVay. Before they started the draft on day 3, Les Snead asked Sean McVay, who do you have to have? Who do you have to come away with? And without any hesitation, he said Hunter. Hunter, hands down. Now, Hunter had pre-draft visits from 8 different teams. That was Atlanta, Carolina, Dallas, Houston, Indy, the Giants, Seattle, and Washington. Now, if you look at that, it doesn't really, you don't think, hey, all right, well, that one means a lot of teams really like this running back. He comes from the SEC. He comes from Auburn. He was all SEC. LA moved up 10 spots just to take him in front of Indy because Indy had taken him as one of their pre-draft visits. And they thought that he was going to get drafted by them in that spot. And if you get the endorsement of the head coach so emphatic like that, I really believe that sky's the limit. Blake Corum didn't do much last year when he had a chance to do so. He also broke his forearm, so he's coming off an injury. We know that Kyren Williams will be the back. We know that he's going to get all the attention. But if and or how he misses time, I would expect Jarquez Hunter over Blake Corum this season. And with Kyren going to free agency next year, it could be Jarquez Hunter for the night 4 years. And if you have him for the next 4 years, you're going to be very happy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a believer in Kyren Williams, but we also know that Sean McVay, once a running back falls out of favor, he's done. And he goes, it's next person up, next guy up. And I think Hunter is better poised to capture that starting role than Quorum. I haven't really heard a whole lot of news. Maybe you have, as far as how Quorum has looked in his off-season conditioning, but I'm willing to take a flyer on Hunter in a later round and see how he pans out, especially if I'm handcuffing him with Williams.
Yeah, I agree with Jamie. I think McVay realized what they did, and they'll be moving on from him pretty quickly, as the Rams like to do. My last guy, and I've been touting this guy since I reported him in March. I really thought this guy was going to go high. He did. And Elijah Arroyo, in his frame, 6'4", 250 pounds. He tore his ACL in 2020. He re-aggravated it in the preseason for Miami in 2023. It limited all his production, so you're not going to like his production profile. But when he had full health, he had 35 receptions, 590 yards, 7 scores. That's 16.9 yards per reception. Like, as a tight end, what more do you want than those big chunk plays for either first down or play action? And he's going to be the guy other than JSN. Cooper Kupp, bless his soul, he's toast. I don't think that he's going to do much of anything besides mentor those guys. He's going to have a few plays here and there, and he's going to be a nuisance. But I think that's more going to be icing out games that are late. I don't think it's going to be early on in games when they need chunk plays, when they need big plays, when they need first downs. He was a Senior Bowl standout. In my article, I talked about him. I talked him up real big. He has very, very similar characteristics to Jimmy Graham. Also, both teams came from the U. Both teams are basketball they're basketball guys. They really, really feed on that. I'm bigger than you. I'm taller than you. I'm more athletic than you. I'm going to catch the ball higher than you, against those little backs that are just not made to compete with the bigger tight ends and wide receivers, those big X wide receivers. He's got the dog mentality. If you watch his plays at Miami, he's fighting for every single inch. And even when he's not getting the ball, he's fighting. His blocking scheme his blocking technique needs more work. It's not because he's not willing to do it. He's willing to. He wants to. It's just he has to get better at it with his technique. And then I'll round this up with, he can run every single route out of the route tree for Dan Schneider, or for Schneider. He came out of the University of Miami very, very polished in his route running abilities. That is very unlike Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham did not. He had to be cultivated. This kid could be wheels up, and you could be looking at him as the number 1 overall tight end of this rookie class, top 5 tight end of the year for at least this year. I'm not sure about beyond, because there are some very talented guys in this draft class. But he is going to really turn heads and make everybody think twice about who to draft in 2026 as their tight end. And Cap, happy 4th.
Yes, happy 4th. With Arroyo, I mean, for such a big guy, I mean, you were kind of alluding to that when you were talking about him fighting. He's very athletic for someone his size. And I think that is something that it just, I'm drawing a blank on the player. So help me out here. He's with Detroit for a little while, the wide receiver who should have been a tight end. Wow. I can't remember his name.
Did he come from Michigan?
No. Wow. I am drawing a blank. So we'll just drop that one.
Kenny Galladay.
No, not Kenny Galladay. He was on the last part of his career when he was with Detroit for a couple of years and moved on, I think, for another season. I cannot remember his name. It started with an A. That's all I can remember, and I still can't remember his name. That's what happens when you drink too much beer. But I'm not going to stop. All right. Well, anyway, yeah, I really like Arroyo. What's funny about Arroyo is he's sliding even farther than Taylor in a lot of drafts. And you can get him late in some of the rookie drafts. Where have you been seeing Arroyo go? I mean, late third, early fourth,
very, very late, early. Even if drafted in some of these instances, he is a very late third guy, early fourth guy. And I just don't see how there's the vacated targets up there in Seattle. There's plenty of them with DK gone and Disley's gone. With him being the only viable option, Noah Fant hasn't proven anything. I don't see him. I see him being kind of like Mason Taylor. There's nobody else there that is qualified for the job. So that candidate will get a lot of looks until he proves them wrong. And I don't think he will.
Well, maybe while I'm speaking, you can figure out who that receiver is. I know Cap for Life, he's saying now he needs to know. And it was not Tim Patrick. This is a little farther back in Lions history, like maybe 10, 15 years going back. I just can't remember. We'll bring it up next week once I have a chance to look it up. But and also, Cap, the Dolphins could have had Arroyo. Yeah, why? When you can bring somebody out of retirement who is going to be questionable to. I've seen so many pickups on Waller. Have you?
Yes. It's been kind of crazy how many Waller pickups I've seen. I don't think it's going to pan out for him, but go ahead. If it happens, it happens. I don't expect much out of there as far as fantasy production. When guys leave for a year, we'll talk about another guy that left for a year and came back a little bit later in the show, but they just don't. They're not exactly what they used to be. Look at Jason Witten didn't come back the same. When they take that year off, especially at the tight end position, they're not the same person.
No, it's very difficult to take a year off, come back. I mean, yes, you can do at-home conditioning. You can do all the things right, but it's when you're not in practice, when you're not padded, when you're not running routes, it just becomes very difficult to achieve any kind of success the way that you may have prior to leaving. So I'm not expecting anything. I didn't place any claims on him, nor do I intend to. In fact, I think he's been claimed in just about every league, dynasty league that I'm in. So yeah, he's not even available any longer, but it's not worth a roster stash for me.
Are you talking about Donovan Peoples-Jones?
No.
We brought him in and they moved him to
farther. No, farther back, much farther back. Big wide receiver. I cannot. I am having such a difficult time remembering. But anyway,
it's not
Anquan Bolden. Thank you.
Yeah, they thought about moving him to tight end. Yeah,
tight end,
but they never did.
It couldn't be him
because they didn't.
No, I didn't say he was going to move to tight end. I said he should have moved to tight end. But there's
yes.
there's
Anquan
a big wide receiver who was athletic, and of course the Lions had him later in his career. But so you did know. I told you to start with an A. I just couldn't remember. Anyway, now that we've got that mystery solved, we can move on. So fireworks will be on display tonight as we celebrate the stars and the stripes. In football, however, the stars and stripes do not always complement each other, and the fireworks are sometimes duds. There are always 3 uniforms on the football field for every game, 1 each for the 2 teams, and then the iconic black and white stripes adorning the officiating crew. Games are played to showcase the stars and teams for which they play. In fantasy, star performance is critical. Frequently, the stripes have a significant impact on the performances for stars and teams alike. For fantasy, some of these calls may result in head-to-head wins or losses or median point victories that transpire or evaporate. One bad call may even change the outcome of playoff seeding or next year's draft position. Now, playoff and draft impact is an exaggerated scenario, but one not out of the realm of possibility. And there are innumerable bad calls throughout a season that fixating on one as the catalyst for victory or defeat is an exercise in futility. But stars that are impacted by stripes will always be frustrating to GMs. So for you, Pudge, are there any bad calls that just blew your mind and blew your fantasy team's performance?
Oh, the one that really comes to mind was 2023, so it's kind of recent. It's when Calvin Ridley caught the ball sliding on his knees against the Ravens week 15 during the fantasy playoffs. Now they negated that, and he ended up scoring like 7 points on my fantasy team, and I ended up losing because of it. Now that right there had me up in arms because they have replay. Now replay is supposed to be a way for these refs to take their lumps, as they go, correct it, make it the correct call, and move on. This was clearly a catch. Now, I don't know why or how, and I'm not sure what the refs had to say after the game, but that Calvin Ridley call really turned my fantasy playoff hopes to championship hopes into dust.
See, and I honestly don't even recall that play, but that's exactly the type of play that, like you said, infuriates GMs. You're sitting there, you see a call, you get an opportunity to score points, and when they are taken off the board because of a bad call, it's just aggravating. Now, obviously, sports bettors are feeling the same issues when bad calls may be the difference in an over-under, and we've heard countless stories of people who have gone from a winning wager to a losing wager. And that same frustration, even though maybe not to the same degree as someone who's placing sports wagers, but it is still frustrating when you're in a fantasy league, especially when you were talking week 15, because you're in the playoffs. And it's winner go home. And at that point, if it caused you a loss, I mean, that's going to live with you all off season. And the last thing you want to have is a bad call following you throughout the offseason. Well, there's no offseason. Everything is, it's always football season. But you know what I'm saying? When it comes to fantasy in the offseason, you don't want that following you. We're going to kind of stick with another Ravens thing, and I want to kind of go homer here. I want to avoid us sounding like whiny Lions fans, but in 2021, another blown call impacted at least one fantasy contest. Now, the Lions were leading 17-16 versus the Ravens with 7 seconds left. The Ravens were 2nd and 10 on the Lions 48, and the play clock had clearly expired well before the snap. It doesn't matter how many times I rewatched that footage. It was expired well before the snap. The back judge flat out missed the call. Lamar Jackson threw an incompletion, and Justin Tucker was able to kick his record-setting 66-yard field goal off the crossbar. Now, a fantasy GM I know, this didn't impact me, but a fantasy GM I know who is an avid Lions fan had the punch to the gut and the knockout to the chops because the Lions lost, and he lost his fantasy game by 1 point because of that kick. Now, again, we said one play, there's a lot of different things that can change the outcome of a game. And one play, may or may not have made the difference. But it doesn't matter what transpired in a game or all the games that person was involved in prior to that. That's the one that you remember. Just like your play in 2023, it's that last play that sits with you. And that's the same thing with this GM. And he talks about it frequently. What was more frustrating was I went to the Pro Football Hall of Fame literally just a couple weeks after this game. We were headed to Pittsburgh to watch the Lions play the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and his uniform was already encased in the Pro Football Hall of Fame just weeks after that kick, and it was just infuriating to see that. I get why it was there, but as a Lions fan, like I said, yes, everyone, I'm being a whiny Lions fan right now, but it hurt bad. You remember that game?
Yeah, I was there. Good grief. It left you feeling numb because you didn't think anything else was possible for the game. Like, you thought the game is over originally, and then it's extended. And then this guy comes out and kicks a 66-yard field goal off of the crossbar. We watched it hit the crossbar. It was unbelievable. And that was the first time I believed in the curse of Bobby Lane. I did not think that was real until that time. I had witnessed so many cardiac cats games with losing moments, but that one, with it sealed, the game was sealed. That one showed me that curses can be real. And I am very, very, what's the word?
You're emotional. I don't know.
No, it's when you believe in things. Like, I don't wash my underwear for 7 games. Because
superstition.
Superstitious. Yes.
All right.
I am now superstitious. I was never before, but now I am.
Well, I mean, one could say that the Lions should never have been in that position in the first place because they gave up that large pass play to Jackson just before. I think it was it was a large pass play. They got down to the 49. Jackson spiked the ball, so it was 2nd and 10. So it should never have been that situation. But the reality was, had that call been made, they would have now been looking at a 71, 72-yard field goal. And as we know, the kick just hit the crossbar, so that may have been short. Who knows? He may have made it from 71 yards, and we're looking at a completely different record. But it was extremely frustrating. And again, for fantasy, when that impacts you, you may have had 20 other calls that went your way. You may have had 20 calls that didn't, that hurt you. But it's those ones at the end of the game that really just stick with you, and it can be very painful. What do we got going on here? That was Cap for Life. That was definitely a kick in the. I can't see what the emoji is, but whatever it is, yes, it was. You any one of you fill in the blank.
And then Jamie, I did have a hinkling it was Devin Funchess, but I know my guy over there, and I know he doesn't know his positions very well. So I gave him a wide receiver that was always going to be a wide receiver, Anquan Bolden.
I never said he was a tight end. I said he should have been a tight end. I think it would have. I think moving him to tight end would have extended his career, because I think after he left the Lions, it was only like another one. I don't even remember where he went. I couldn't even remember his name, so how am I going to remember where he went? But it wasn't. His career was at the very end, and I think that could have extended it. But that was just me. Any other play that just stands out to you? I don't want to go even more whiny Lions and talk about the there's
always the Calvin Johnson play that'll forever be in there. Des Bryant. Same thing happened to Des Bryant. So those catches that are not catches, they really sit with fantasy players. What about I'm going way back, and this didn't affect my fantasy team, but when Rocket Ishmael, yes, I said Rocket Ishmael, was playing for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and he returned a kick for a touchdown that was called back on a heinous holding play, that still is near and dear in my heart. I almost gave up football. Glad I didn't. It was 1998, I think. So it was some years ago, but that play when they called that back against the Irish, that play sticks in my head. I don't know why.
The only thing I know less about than the NFL is college football. So yeah, I can't help you on that. We'll just leave it that one, and we won't, like I said, we won't talk about the Aaron Rodgers bomb on the play that on the call that shouldn't have been. But
all the play, all the DPI and the offensive interference that goes on those.
Well, and there was that play in the play. Was that a playoff game? The New Orleans game where the DPI that, I don't know if that would have impacted fantasy. It was the play that I think it was in the playoffs, and the Saints. I think the Saints lost on that game. Let's not even talk about it because I can't remember that one either. I'm having a difficult time with memory today. It's because I've been celebrating this holiday for a few days now, so we'll just move on. So in the end, just like real football teams, fantasy GMs will endure these tribulations precipitated by bad officiating. Now, while we all believe our favorite teams are victimized by bad officiating more than others, there is nothing demonstrable to indicate that this is true. Calls go for and against all teams, even if we believe there is bias. And while these are just a part of the game, as fantasy enthusiasts and fans of football itself, we love to bemoan the tragic outcomes of those calls we perceive as bad. It's just the way it is. So stars have definitely been perceived to fall victim to poor officiating by the Stripes. Stars, however, sometimes fall victim due to circumstances of their own making. Many NFL stars have demanded freedom from their existing contracts via new deals or trades to other teams. We see that today with players like Trey Hendrickson, TJ Watt, Terry McLaurin, and so on. We cannot even get second-round rookies to even sign their deals right now. Some players have even sat out the regular season to emphasize their positions. When players are so public and vocal about their displeasure and then are granted their wish, there is significant focus on their ability to live up to their own self-hype. While there are moves that prove beneficial for the player and they have flourished, others have not fared so well. We are going to look at 4 examples of independence and efficiency, the inability to perform once settled into a new environment. So our first is going to be Melvin Gordon. So in 2019, Gordon requested a trade that was not honored. He was a holdout until week 5 that season and then had a crucial fumble on the goal line in that first game that would have iced the game for the Chargers. Instead, the Chargers lost. Now, he finished the season with an average of only 51 yards per game. His only 100-yard game came in week 10 versus Denver. His receiving yards per game were the lowest since his rookie season. Pudge, you got more information on this one?
Oh, man. I remember Gordon. He had been a first-round draft pick and really wanted more than $5.6 million per year. He wanted to be in that $10 million range, and the Chargers weren't doing it. They had nothing to do with him making that kind of money. Now, I don't know why, but when running backs don't go through training camp, and they certainly don't go through the first few weeks, they have a terrible time catching up. He had the lowest averages of his career since he was a rookie. It was nuts. And that year he had less than 1,000 yards. He only had 612 yards from scrimmage. Now, he still had 42 receptions and 300 receiving yards, but that was still dramatically lower than his season prior. We had over 500 yards receiving. That led to Austin Eckler. Now, when they saw that Eckler could run the ball for 600 plus yards on half the amount of carries that he did in 2019, because Eckler filled in while Gordon was sitting out, they found their new running back, and now we have the Austin Eckler that we have today. He blew up, became their guy, showed them that they could be frugal in the running back department, and now the running backs, they really had a hard time in that time. Right around when Ezekiel Elliott got paid, right after that, a lot of teams, they really shied away from that. And he was victim of being one of those guys that just never did it. That he went on to the Denver Broncos and never had a 1,000-yard season again.
Yeah, definitely a player that did not get paid based on his performance. Like you said, he was just a victim of the way things fell, and the Chargers didn't want to pay them. He definitely, if Eckler were playing in his prime today, where running backs are finally starting to get better contracts again, and teams are recognizing.
You mean Gordon?
Oh, I was talking about Eckler and his paydays.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When you were talking about Eckler, and so I was just talking about the fact that Eckler never really got paid the way that he should in
No, you're right.
San Diego / Los Angeles, and he fell victim to that. But Gordon, like you said, just never. He had really one or two strong seasons for the Chargers, and then after that, his career fell apart. I think he had one solid season with. Where'd he go? Denver? It's Denver, correct?
Denver. Yep.
And then it never really
played some backup stuff over in Baltimore. Never materialized into anything.
Yeah. Who's next?
Oh, we have Mr. Brett Favre. Now, Brett Favre, he retired in 2008. And then he unretired like 3 months later in June. That's when he told McCarthy that he wanted to play. And McCarthy said, well, we've got this guy that we drafted, Aaron Rodgers, that we're going to let take the horns. So Green Bay hemmed and hawed, and they didn't want him to play for anybody else. So they ultimately weren't going to release him. Now, what they did do is they had two offers on the table, one from the New York Jets, one from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. As we know, they chose the Jets, and Brett went to throw for abysmal 3,472 yards, 22 touchdowns, and 22 interceptions that year. He was never really the Brett Favre that he ever was with the Green Bay Packers. He did have a little resurgence with Minnesota 2 years later, but he was never the guy that everyone thought he was going to be with the Jets. He never took on the persona, I guess, that he had with Green Bay and being the guy and always having that game-winning touchdown drive. That just didn't exist with him over there with the Jets. And it was really, really evident that sometimes the grass is not always greener. And there's another guy that we're going to talk about here. I don't know if you have anything to talk about, Brent, but
nope.
Lev Bell was also a grass is greener guy. In 2017, after his all-pro season, he was first-team all-pro, made the Pro Bowl, was awesome, killed everybody's fantasy leagues. Then decided to take the 2018 season off completely. Didn't play a game. Sat out everything. Wanted that big payday. Didn't get it. Then he too went to the New York Jets. Played 15 games, had 245 rushes for 789 yards. That is 3.2 yards per carry for all of us, not in the mathematics industry. That was the worst by far of his career, and he never, ever got back to fantasy relevance. He only had 3 TDs that year, and his fantasy outlook was going to be better than what it was with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's what a lot of people thought it was going to be, and it ended up being a guy you could cut midseason. He never came to.
It was just amazing, a career, on the early side or on the front side of that 1 year off. I mean, he was a top 3 pick in redraft leagues. He was the guy, and then sit out that year, come back, and it was a different story, a different player altogether. And it shows what happens to, like you said, especially running backs when they sit out. I don't know of an example of a running back, or for that matter, any player who has sat out for any length of time and it has benefited that player either via contract or via playing performance. And it's clear. And so we talk about players like right now, when we talk about players like Trey Hendrickson, and we talk about TJ Watt and so on, and what they may end up doing if they, what ultimately, are they going to stay? Are they going to retire? Are they going to hold out? What are they going to do? And that's, again, holding out just doesn't do it. And even retiring and coming back, Mr. Waller, may not, you just never going to come to strong fantasy relevance. At least that's my opinion. Do we have some comments here?
Yeah. Jamie was talking about Myles Garrett over here. Brown should let Myles Garrett go. Yeah. With the makeup of that team, doesn't really make sense for him to stay, in my eyes. He is up there in age. He's over 30. Just let the guy go win a championship and get paid to do it. And I agree with I know Jeff agrees with this wholeheartedly. He loves Cortland Sutton and Terry McLaurin. We both do. Really, especially for this year in fantasy. I think they're both going to be great. But imagine if they would have had good QB play early in their career. Yeah, imagine it. I mean, they would be guys we're talking about as Tyler Lockett's maybe not exactly Tyler Lockett, but try and think of guys that are out there making plays but not top 10 exactly. They could have been. Terry McLaurin definitely could have been a top 10 guy perennial with good quarterback play. Unfortunately, the Washington Commanders are going to commander. And until Denver got savvy and hired a good coach, I mean, they're just piecing together teams with their defense, and their defense got old, and then the whole thing fell apart with Von Miller leaving and everything like that. So
I've said before that so many players who have solid talent, they can become superstars, or they can become busts based on the supporting cast, their coaching staffs, their quarterback, their offensive line. If we're talking about the offensive side of the ball, so many variables go into a career. And I think you can take a player, if you had a way to play, to play a game where you place one player on one team and then go back to the beginning and play someone on another team, I think you'd see a lot of players have vastly different careers. And I think that sometimes players that could be destined for greatness don't achieve that because of where they go.
And DJ Moore, I mean, there's a lot of guys I can think of right off the top of my head that should have had great careers. DJ Moore was a middling. He's always been a wide receiver too, but can you imagine him with a guy that could throw him the ball? Could have been awesome. Could have, would have, should have.
I agree. So for our nation, we cherish independence. For Pudge and I, we also celebrate the independence of small craft breweries throughout the United States, including those recognized by the Brewers Association as certified independent craft brewers. This Frothy Fourth independent beer is our Suds. The 4th of July is a great time for your favorite beverage. As I said, I've already had a few. Not today yet, but I've had a few this leading up to today. And thank you, Cap for Life. I am staying safe. I am in the safety of my home. But I have a lineup of brews I will be sharing with friends tonight. We must always be mindful that while we love our beer or other libation of choice, we must drink responsibly. Pudge and I implore you on this busy holiday that if you will be out, please have a plan for your safety and the safety of others before you drink. Please do that. Before we present our brews on this Independence Day, I want to emphasize another independence, our nation's independent brewers. Per the Brewers Association website, more than 5,700 craft breweries are certified by the Brewers Association as independent. These breweries and packaged beers can be identified by the Independent Seal. Pudge, you want to show that can?
Hey.
There's that seal. It's blurry, but it's up top.
There it is.
There it is.
There we
go. It took a moment. As a craft beer aficionado, I enjoy Suds from breweries large and small, but supporting small breweries, well, small businesses in general, to be honest, is very important to me. Certainly there are great craft beers from larger operations, but small, independently owned breweries with brewers invested in the craft are worth our patronage. Independent brewers also frequently have a collaborative relationship with other brewers. Now, do you want to find one that's near you? Visit brewersassociation.org/directories/breweries and toggle only independent craft, then search by your state, and you will see all the breweries near you that are independent brewers. Now, I am always compelled to support our nation's independent brewers. Do the same, and you will not be disappointed. So, Pudge, what beer are you enjoying today?
Today, I've got GW's Little White Lie, and this is a Belgian style, and it's tart with cherries, and yields from Middle Coast out of Traverse City, Michigan. Shout out to those guys. They do have a very good selection of beers. I don't always drink the Cretan stuff, but being at Traverse City and the Cherry Festival, here we go. I had to get something with cherries.
Well, Traverse City, as many people may know, is is a lot of cherries, a lot of cherry farms and stuff like that. So, I mean, cherries are big in Traverse City. You have a lot of different organizations, businesses that are supported by cherries. So seeing a Traverse City brewery with cherries is not unusual.
Shocker.
You liked that sip, I take it?
It was pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So from Alcona Brew House, which is, of course, a certified independent brewery located in Harrisville, Michigan, that is my beer of the week. So like many independent breweries, Alcona Brew House does not distribute, so you must get the goods from the source. Ergo, the growler. Now, this is a beer that I'm going to try not to spill all over my computer and camera from the growler, but this is a beer. It's called Double Trouble, and it's a double IPA brewed with Citra, Idaho 7, and Mosaic hops. This is coming in at 9.1% ABV and an IBU of 1892. So I'm going to take a sip here and say cheers to our nation.
Cheers, America.
It says it's really hoppy, and this is really hoppy. That is delicious.
You gonna grow some ears?
I'm going to grow some what?
Ears. Bunny.
My ears are already big enough here. I don't need them any bigger.
We're gonna have a special guest here real quick here. Hold on.
Oh, excellent.
He wanted to say hello and happy birthday, America.
What?
You want to say happy birthday, America?
Happy birthday, America.
Happy 4th of July?
Happy 4th of July.
Okay. All right, there you go.
All right, see ya.
Love you, buddy.
Love you.
That is only the second time we've had a guest on our show. We had
And it was
Justin
him
Barley
the
once
last time.
and to enjoy a beer. And this time our guest wasn't quite old enough to enjoy a beer with us. So
He has been begging me to get on the show. And I told him, since it was just him and I today, right now, that I would let him make a guest appearance. So
He said he wanted his own podcast. So I'm waiting to see when that happens. All right. Well, we can already tell that we have failed to keep our show under an hour once again, but let's move on. Nothing goes better with a DIPA than a little A or B. On this July 4th holiday, we have an Independence Day installment of A or B. I will present two options, and Pudge and I will decide for each of us which option we'd prefer. Are you ready? Of course you are. Our first A or B. A, hot dogs, or B, apple pie?
1,000 times yes, hot dogs. I love hot dogs. I just had a post about hot dogs the other day because one of my favorite places in town is now closed. And it was a staple in our little city of Bay City. And
Mr. Hot Dogs closed?
No. Well, no, Mr.
I thought you meant
A&W closed.
Oh, okay.
And Mr. Hot Dogs is only open on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And this was a Tuesday. So Mr. Hot Dog broke my heart. A&W is closed forever. And I ended up getting Chinese food, which was terrible. But hot dogs are it. Hot dogs, coney sauce, mustard, onions.
I love apple pie. My favorite is blueberry pie, but I love apple pie. I got to go hot dogs, especially on the 4th. It's hot dogs. I can have apple pie.
Jamie is right.
Yep, 100. Yep, I got to do it. Okay.
Who doesn't love hot dogs? Let's put that out there. Who doesn't love a hot dog?
So the only way my wife likes a hot dog is if it's completely smothered in chili, cheese, and onions. Like a regular hot dog, she won't do it. But a hot dog just smothered in chili and cheese, she'll do that all day long. All right, second A or B. A, fireworks that form a ball-like display, or B, fireworks that create falling trails or moving tails.
I'm a sucker for the moving tails, the ones that shimmer and they explode and they've got this long tail of spark and shimmer. It might be the mosquito inside me, but I love a good firework that has a big long tail with the shimmering sound too.
Now, see, if either one of us were actually producers and we knew how to run this software properly, we would actually have images of the different fireworks to show you. But we are not experts like that, especially the Fantasy Nobody. I don't even know how. I'm lucky if I can even get online, period. But I like the what they call the brocade or brocade, the one that is like a spider and is very glittery. So it it puffs out and it looks like this ball, and then at the end it starts to fade and it starts to shimmer. That's the one that I really like, but I like all fireworks, as long as they're in a distance. My dogs don't like them so much, but I do. Let's see. I got some
Steve Lawson over here at In Between Media. Brother, let me make you a hot dog. You haven't had one of mine. I'd be glad to mail it to you. Maybe, I don't know if that works. I don't know if that's legal, but we need to get you on the hot dog train, sir.
How are you going to make a hot dog and then mail it?
It's 2025.
Like,
we can do it.
Okay. I ship me a hot dog and I want to see how it turns out. Although I will tell you a story about a hot dog that I left in a grill. I had a storage shed and I had some stuff that we had moved because we were doing some renovations. Had stuff in a storage shed, and there was a grill I had from tailgating from the year before. And unbeknownst to us, there was a hot dog left in that grill. And I swear that hot dog looked like it had just been freshly grilled. That tells you how many preservatives and how many chemicals are in those hot dogs. With that said, give me a hot dog anytime. By the way, I did not eat that hot dog. It went in the trash. But anyway, moving on. I like big boom fireworks with some bass. I like loud fireworks. I don't like the ones that that sound like M80s that just go up in the air. They explode and there's no visual. Those I can't handle, but I don't mind any sound to this, or any sound. I can handle the sound, and I like those. Let's see. Third, A or B? A, backyard grilling, or B, boating on the lake?
No, man, that's tough. I love going out to Boaters Beach and just having a good time out there. But I can have more people at my backyard grill. And I'm going to go with backyard grilling because who doesn't love a good get-together with some suds and as many people as you can fit at the house, just having a good time?
Well, for me, the gas prices as they are, and, boats obviously are not fuel efficient and they suck up the gas. And so it's become a very expensive, activity for people. And I know a lot of people who have owned boats and who simply don't use them any longer. It's just too expensive. I personally don't own a boat. Probably never will. I don't like the amount of work that goes into them to enjoy them. So for me, it's backyard grilling. You said the one thing. You can have so many people who, you can have dozens of people in your backyard enjoying cornhole or doing whatever while, drinking beer and having a good time. You can't do that on a boat. Backyard grilling is a lot less expensive. And it's just, it's something. Now, I'm not the grill master in our family. That's my wife. In fact, she's better than me at many things, but grilling is one of them. I have never been able to perfect that like other people. She is excellent at it. So I know our friend Jay Wiz. We've talked about him on the show a few times. He is a phenomenal. He's phenomenal with the grill. That's not me, but I can still drink beer and eat the food. So and talk to other people. I'll do backyard grilling all day long.
Yep.
And Jamie agrees with us on that one.
Oh, yeah.
And then finally, our fourth, A or B. If you are grilling for the 4th, do you want A, burgers and brats or hot dogs, or B, chicken and shrimp?
That's not a real question, right?
It is.
Burgers, brats, and hot dogs. That's the most American thing ever. Shrimp? Now, maybe down in Louisiana, where it's super plentiful and super cheap. But no, thank you. I am going with burgers and brats all day long. It's just nostalgia, tastes better. You don't have to keep it cold. Shrimp, you got to keep cold. That's what I'm going with. A for sure.
I love chicken and shrimp, and I love steak and shrimp, and there's a lot of times when grilling that, is excellent. But when it comes to the fourth, it's got to be burgers, brats, and hot dogs. That's just the holiday, and and even though there was an A or B choice, I still have some apple pie hidden somewhere back there that we'll enjoy. But it's got to be burgers, brats, and hot dogs without question. I'll keep the shrimp for another time. And once again, Jamie agrees. So I think you and I agreed on all four. No, we didn't agree on the fireworks. We agreed on 3 of the 4, but that's pretty.
Yeah, we agreed on the fireworks. You don't like the big booms. I like the.
I like the ones that are like
Yeah.
big circles. You like the ones that spin and
Oh,
fun stuff.
Yeah, nobody likes those big circles. That's cool.
Pudge, where do we find you?
I am FF LaPudge at fantasynowplus.com on Blue Sky, and I am FF_LaPudge at X. How about yourself, sir?
On X, I am FF_YIS, and on Blue Sky, I am FF_YIS.fantasynowplus.com.
We'll get through it.
I still
Happy 4th.
So yeah. Well, I want to thank the audience for listening on this holiday. Our next episode will be Friday, July 11 at 3 p.m. Eastern and noon Pacific. Catch up on episodes of Fantasy Studs and Suds and your other favorite Fantasy Now Plus shows here on YouTube, YouTube Music, Apple Music, and Spotify. Follow the Finns Talk Sports Network here on YouTube. Follow Fantasy Now Plus on Discord, TikTok, Blue Sky, and subscribe to this channel here on YouTube. Until next time, for Pudge LePage, I am the Fantasy Nobody, Jeffrey Crisp. Be good, be kind, be responsible, and on this Independence Day, cheers.
See ya.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe wherever you watch or listen to podcasts. We'll be back next week for more ways to win your league.